Hey, good morning, team. It is Tuesday, May 28th. I'm Amy Corr. I'm here with Kevin Van Eck, and we are live out of the Goose Island office. We hope you all had a great Memorial Day weekend. We've got what I think is a great topic today. We're shifting a little bit because it's a bit more about mindset, motivation, confidence, things I think right now that a lot of agents could probably use a boost. So I think that's what we're going to focus on. If that's all right. Okay. Yeah. Well, on that note, it is going into the season where your coffee may be iced, but whatever you may have this morning, we hope you're enjoying it. And let's get ready to jump into the next episode. He's already drinking his of Coffee with Amy and Kevin.
Yes, good morning. Good morning, everyone.
You just
good morning,
couldn't
Amy.
wait? You just couldn't
wait.
I
had to take a sip during the opening. It was so long, that opening. I hadn't had much coffee yet this morning.
He was like, she's just going and going and going. Yes.
But you're right. Good topic. I think this is something that we can use anytime. But specifically now, given everything in the industry, and we've taken a little bit of a hit, right? When it comes to how we operate and what we do.
Yeah. And, I will say overall, I'm so impressed with agents that I've been talking to, and their resilience and their ability to really try and figure out how am I going to take a lot of what's happened this year and try and figure out how to make it even better for my business, make my business stronger, make me a better agent. Right. And so overall, I feel like I've just talked with so many, but I also know that I've had conversations with agents that we can't help it to sometimes question ourselves or feel down or just kind of feel a little bit of an undertone of not negativity, but insecurity, maybe, when it comes to our business right now. And I was on YouTube the other day, and I came across just this little 10-minute nugget from Brené Brown, who I really like, and I just love listening to stuff that, she has on YouTube. She's just inspirational. She's smart. But it's all about kind of starting inward in order to create whatever you want your world to be outward. And so this quote that she gave just really, for whatever reason at that moment, made me really think about all of us in this industry this year. And it goes like this.
Don't walk through the world looking for evidence that you don't belong, because you will always find it.
And what I love, it's a kind of a negative when you listen to it, but I turned it into this empowering thing, which is, you're right. If you are out there and you're looking for clients that are hard to work with, if you are out there and your whole focus is knowing or worrying that you're going to run into people that don't value you, that don't trust you, that don't believe in, what you do, then that's what your entire universe is going to be filled with. Right. And so this made me think about changing the lens, flipping the script, and taking control of the idea of that whatever we believe or whatever we're thinking, however confident we are in our approach to our business, then that's what we're going to end up getting. So I don't know. I just thought it was kind of an interesting time right now. It just resonated well for me. So I wanted to share because I feel like if it hit me a certain way, maybe it's hitting, it might hit other people that way as well.
Powerful. I'm glad you found that video, because it is true. Like if you feel like people are, whatever it is, not into you, if you feel like you're looking for something negative, you'll find it, right? So I love it, because here's a time where there are plenty of positive things. As you're saying, agents are resilient. Agents are determined. They're going to work through this. Everyone, anyone that had been through any of the previous downturns, any of the previous market shifts, we'll get through this one. But I love that we are focusing on confidence, because I think there's a direct translation between feeling better, looking better, and being more confident and driving more business. Yeah. So we've got, in this video that you talked about, she brings up several different things.
And what she did too is she talked about, she kind of kicked it off with sort of this quote, but then she went into, and I think she wrote a book on all of this, and she called the acronym BRAVING. But what it really went into is that there were 7 components to trust. And again, this resonated with me because I was thinking, what do we call ourselves? Trusted advisors. We are helping people with one of their largest financial investments, commitments in life. And they've got to really trust us and believe in us in order for us to do our best work, and also just to make clients for life. And so this sort of resonated with me. And she's got 7 of them. We actually have the video, the link to the video attached, so you can see all of these. But I think it kind of worked in really well with just some of the conversation that we were having.
That's right. Because we narrowed it down to 3 simple ones, and maybe we'll come up with an acronym in the future for all the things that we do, like this spring,
I
summer.
love acronyms.
audit or spring season audit, SSA, if you remember that one. But this one, we just narrowed it down to three ways that we feel like you can instill confidence in yourself, but then also make it easier to build that trust by instilling confidence in the people you're talking with, right? So I think number one that we'd talked about that we think is really important, it's really basic, but I think it's something to keep mindful of, which is your appearance and your timeliness and your presentation. So when it comes to appearance, it doesn't mean you're wearing a suit and tie every day necessarily, but it does mean looking like somebody that the person in front of you would trust,
Yep.
right? So showing up on time, showing up well-dressed in whatever way that means, and then also being responsive. Building trust by being responsive. So when we say timeliness, it means, yes, showing up on time, doing what you say you're going to do, which translates into Brené's video, but also being responsive, being somebody that they can rely on to be there when they need them.
Yeah, I think that that's so important. And sometimes it goes into actions speak louder than words. You can
Right.
say, I'm on time, I'm really responsive, I follow through. If you say it, but they don't see it happening, it doesn't matter what you say. So a lot of that to me is action oriented, and it's almost nonverbal, right? It's how you present yourself, your smile, your handshake. And I always say this to agents, whether we like it or not, they are judging us before we even open our mouth,
Very true.
before they see us for the first time. So it is sort of about what we look like, because they are making decisions on, is this somebody that I feel like I can, entrust with, kind of our largest purchase or one of the most emotional things that we're going through.
Absolutely.
So I like those. The other one too, that we talked a bit about that I think is so important is, kind of really knowing what you're going to say, prior to 2 seconds before you're going to say it. I think
Right.
it's Phil M. Jones. He's got a
That's
great
right.
book, and it's What to Say. He's got so many great ways to position things. But I think his biggest emphasis is, you don't want to, be in this moment of something that's so critical or so important for you, and you're flying off the cuff.
Right.
Because odds are you might say something in a way that's okay, but it could have been done so much better. And so we talk a lot about these critical conversations that agents are having with clients right now. We all know what those are.
Right.
And so I think the best thing that we can do is practice those. And we've talked about this on coffee before, but it's, you may be deciding because, we make suggestions, but only you know which conversations am I struggling with? Which conversations are not making me confident right now? Which ones have I blown over the last couple of weeks or months that I realize I probably really need some practice with? Practice makes perfect. Practice builds confidence. Practice creates trust, because when you walk in seeming to know all of the answers and how to navigate them through some of the difficult things, there's going to be trust built in there. So I think it's practicing that role play, being prepared with the right things to say so that they feel really good.
Yeah, agreed. And we've included a link to Phil M. Jones's book too, because it is super powerful.
Yeah.
Let's go to number 3. So the third thing we talked about was in terms of instilling confidence in yourself so that you know what you are going to say, and being able to articulate it clearly is being knowledgeable about the market, being knowledgeable about stats and trends. And we've all been asked that question before that we stumbled on because we didn't know the answer, but we tried to sound like we knew the answer. And if you're in the middle of a conversation and that happens, the rest of the conversation is uneasy, uncomfortable,
Yep.
Especially if you said something that you figured out later was incorrect. So in this case, it goes right hand in hand with practicing and role playing, which is educate yourselves, right? Because be more confident in being able to handle questions. And if you know how it is too, if you're worried about a seller or a buyer or somebody asking a specific question, and you're crossing your fingers and you're hoping that they don't ask it, they're going to ask it. Odds are.
Yeah.
So better to be prepared and educated either on the market or how you're going to respond. So to your point, in terms of being able to articulate clearly what you're going to say.
Yeah, and there's lots of ways to get great market information. And,
Yeah.
people are curious right now. The market's really confusing, and there's a lot of different things that are going into the makeup of what's happening. And I think the biggest thing, too, is a lot of the headlines that our clients are reading are much more macro bits of information. And so, knowing your micro market is really going to have them feel like, wow, I really do trust this Kevin Van Eck. He really seems to know what he's talking about because you took the time to really dive into what matters most to them. So being confident leads you to being trusted, but it also does go back to what Brene said, which is really sort of focusing your whole mind instead of it being on people who don't like you, don't trust you, don't think you're great. Let's flip the script. Let's focus on the fact that you are amazing, that you do a phenomenal job for your clients, that you are worth all of it. And, just having that mentality and that confidence is going to open you up to the world of people who believe it too. So on that note, we hope you found some of this information helpful this Tuesday. We want you to make it a great week. And remember, until we see you next time, you got this.